What's up, everybody? This is Jeremy from Budget Dad Barbecue and Brewing. Tonight we are going to start a Boston butt on our Kamado. So for my pork butts, I like to do something a little bit different. Some people like to do the Texas style with just the rub. Other people like to do a little lesser rub, salt and pepper, and they do the Carolina mop sauce. I like to do both. I like my pork butt to have that crust, but at the same time, I like mine sweet and tangy. So the trick here is let's get some acid on this with apple cider vinegar, rub it down with some mustard. We're gonna let it go low and slow tonight. I'm gonna put it on late tonight before we go to bed. I'm gonna go between 225 and 250. And so if it takes a little bit longer, then that's not a problem. One thing I've learned from watching a ton of Harry Sue videos, so shout out to Slap Yo Daddy Barbecue, is as far as what you want to get rid of with the pork butt, not a whole lot, but you want to get rid of the artery if it's still on there. So I'm doing that right now if you want to check it out. I know I should have a fillet knife, but I don't right now. I've got a smaller one, but right here, if you take a look at the very end bone, follow it up, sometimes you're going to see this. Now, being in the medical profession, I know that that's the intima. That's the inside of a, well, if it was a vein, but this is pretty big. So what I've done is I've kind of isolated this, and what I'm doing is now I'm just getting rid of it. I don't want to get rid of all the fat, because the fat is a key player here in this game, but I do want to get rid of any nasty, chewy bits. Okay, that's right here too. You see that? So that would be great if I was in like medical school or nursing school and I was starting an IV, but I don't want that in somebody's mouth. And if I decide to give this to my neighbors, I don't want them to have to bite in there. I'll be super embarrassed. Okay, that's that. For my base, I typically like to use a Dijon mustard, especially on my poultry because I like the way it tastes. But on the pork, again, I actually want to go for the acid. I want that sweetness and I want that tanginess. So what I'm going to start with is a base of mustard and just a little bit of apple cider vinegar. You'll see later on through the video, I'm going to be using apple cider vinegar as a mop sauce throughout the entire process. But I like to start that off with a base too, just so that that is the initial hit that starts to get into the meat. I like to start with Bragg's apple cider vinegar. I think it's the best on the market. I have no affiliation with Bragg's, or am I getting any kickbacks, but I just personally think it's the highest quality apple cider vinegar that you can buy. I start off with just a little bit. Some people might disagree with this because they say don't pour acid directly on the meat. It starts to eat away at it. I think that's nonsense. I'm not putting a ton, as you can see. Once I'm finished with the Bragg's apple cider vinegar, we're going to throw down some mustard. Any kind of mustard will do. French's mustard. I've got a Simple Truth organic. This was on sale. I think it was 2 for 1 or something. That's the only reason why I'm going to buy it. You don't have to go super thick on this. Some people do. Some people do barely any. I don't know. To me, I find I just go right in the middle, right? Not too much, not too little. I think that's fine. And that's where the good old Grill Mates barbecue seasoning comes in. This, my friends, is $5, $6 tops at your grocery store. I've tried different Grill Mates. This is the best one. This has a brown sugar base. I think this is going to be perfect for this pork butt. Don't be shy here, folks. We want that crust. I mean, I've seen some people dump a $20, $15, $20 bottle of rub onto a pork butt. I can't do that. I don't have the money, and personally, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. If you make your own rub, even better. That's more cost effective. That's beautiful. One thing I didn't talk about was the mop sauce. After about 4 or 5 hours, I'm going to go outside and start to hose this thing down with this. Inside this little container, I've got apple cider vinegar, majority probably around 80%. The rest is apple juice. I've got 1 to 2 heaping teaspoons of brown sugar, a pinch of chili flakes. My family doesn't like things too terribly spicy, So some people use about a teaspoon. I use just a pinch. Salt, pepper, that's about it. So I'm gonna let her rest for a few more hours. I'm gonna put her in the fridge. And once we get to about 11 o'clock tonight, midnight perhaps, we will take her out, put that thing on the Kamado. Maybe about 10, 11 o'clock, I'll get that Kamado fired up. We're gonna get it to be about, I'm shooting for around 235, 240. We'll go from there. We're back, everybody. It is about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm being quiet because I don't want to wake up my kids. But it is time to get this Boston butt onto the barbecue. It is super cold outside to the point where I got my old school Soviet jacket on, and man, this thing is warm. All right, so I'm going to give it about 4 hours. I'm going to come back out, drizzle that with some Carolina mop sauce, and I'm going to do that about every 30 to 45 minutes to make sure that I have that nice crust, but at the same time, I'm not going to let it dry out. Morning, everybody. So it is the next day. When I woke up in the morning, I went to go ahead and check. The Kamado did pretty well last night considering how windy and cold it was, but it sat pretty at around 225, 230. So I also noticed that the crust was just not where I wanted it as far as that bark. So I cranked it up to 275, threw a little bit more charcoal on there, and we've been letting it ride. So let's go outside and check this for doneness. I've got my handy dandy wooden skewer. I already have a thermometer probe in it right now, but I like to use a wooden skewer, and hopefully we're not going to catch any resistance, but if it has to stay on there a little bit longer, that's fine too. We're in no big rush. Let's check it out. Oh, yes. Ooh. Oh, there is little to no resistance there, my friends. That's perfect. There's a little resistance there. You know what? It's really soft here, but right here, I think it is not completely, it's still a little resistant. So I'm gonna cover it back up. Let's give it another half an hour, 45 minutes, and then we'll check it out then and see where we're at. What's up, everybody? It's been about 30 minutes. It is crazy windy and cold out here, but I came out and checked it with a probe, and it is much, much better. It's time to wrap this thing. Oh, that is, look at that bark. That's perfect. I can't wait to see how this turns out. Remember, 1 hour at least, but you could feasibly have this thing wrapped for hours and hours and hours. So if you've got errands to run or if you've got somewhere to go, some people put it in an ice chest or a cooler. I don't know if you've seen my previous videos, but you know how I feel about making meat super cold. I think that's gross, and then ultimately I have to heat it up again. So I'm not really understanding that science. But I will take this inside, and we're gonna let it sit for about an hour, hour and a half, start to prep our side dishes. And by the time we're done with that, we are ready to get this thing pulled apart. We'll see you then. We're back. The pork butt has been chilling out for about 2 hours just so we can get all the other things ready as far as side dishes go. So let's see what this looks like. I have not gotten into this. I know this is going to be hot because I've done this before. So what I did is I bought a cheap pair of $2 gloves from the drugstore, just winter gloves. They're great. They work awesome for this. And then I've just got gloves over it. Tip or reminder, wash your gloves. These things smell like chemicals, and you don't want to start digging your hands into any of this meat and then have people say, hey, this tastes like a hospital room. Cool. Ooh, that's nice. Let's take this out. Oh yeah. That's beautiful. Check that out, you guys. That is so nice. Whoa. Oh man. That just fell right off. I was gonna cut it, but it just fell right apart. Do you want the skin too?
Totally.
All right, there you are.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, that's good.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Wow. This bark is so nice. I'm really pleased about the bark. Whoa. Salty, but not too much. Sweet, smoky. Exactly what I was going for. I'm glad that I did that McCormick rub before we did everything. And I'm glad we did that Carolina throughout that mop, because I could tell that really soaked in. That brown sugar that was in there, I could really taste that in the skin and in the meat. It was able to penetrate in there. All right, let's just start pulling this thing apart. Whoa. Look at this piece right here. I mean, ain't that beautiful? Boy, I've got to get this. It's bomb. So good. Crunchy bark on the outside, soft, tender, falling apart. That's good Boston butt right there. We have got that taken care of. Take a look at this. This was, I think, an 8-pound Boston butt. We got a ton of meat out of that. We had some scraps, but boy, that bark, you could see how we tore that up and how we mixed that in there. All right, my friends, we are done with this pulled pork, and I'm starving. I know the rest of my family is too. Thank you for hanging out with us today. If you were halfway entertained, if you learned anything, please hit that like button, subscribe for any future content. If not, that's okay too. I'm not going to judge you. We'll see you next time.